For the second year in a row, Duquesne and Princeton will face off to start off their campaigns. This is the Duquesne Sports Pregame Show. I'm Jack Morgan, alongside me Dylan Fisser. Today we will be previewing the Duquesne Dukes and the Princeton Tigers. Duquesne heads into this year with some higher expectations. They're placed to finish 6th in the preseason poll for the A-10. But Dylan, they have a lot of moving parts around this squad this year.
Certainly a lot of moving parts. That is kind of the key factor that you mentioned there, Jack. This team looks very different than last season.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of transfers, a lot of seniors that left, and a lot of transfers out as well for the Dukes. But another difference this year is they're going to be playing Princeton at home this time around. So the Tigers are going to have to come to their house.
Absolutely, yeah. And last year's game was pretty close. Duquesne stayed with the Tigers. Obviously, the Tigers had a fantastic year last year. In fact, they are predicted to do the same this year. They received 10 first-place votes in the Ivy League preseason poll. So, like Duquesne, Princeton had success in their Ivy League preseason poll. But we'll stick to Duquesne for now and talk about a couple of the players that have left the team. Nate Bernard, Tess Myers, they left in the transfer portal, with Bernard going to Loyola Chicago and Tess Myers going over to the Wisconsin Badgers. But also, you had some seniors that graduated. Maya Hamilton was one of the bigger ones, along with Precious Johnson. Those two leaving, just what kind of impact does it have on the team?
It is the impact for the Dukes. I mean, when they didn't have it working offensively at the top, when it wasn't Megan McConnell and Tess Myers going back and forth, they relied on the big girls up front, Amaya Hamilton and Precious Johnson. They were the ones that were able to turn games for the Dukes. They were the ones that were able to control games off of the rebounds. That's a big loss. And you also mentioned Niall Bernard. She transferred, did not leave as a senior. Niall, she went over to Loyola Chicago, and that's our rival school for the Dukes. So it's going to be interesting when they see her again. But that was a big loss for Duquesne, as she was a key rotational piece coming off the bench and even starting a lot of the time. We did see her minutes decline towards the end of the season. It was probably partially the reason why she left. So it's going to be certainly interesting to see the new Duquesne Dukes try to fill some very much needed roles.
And speaking of those new Duquesne Dukes, one of them ends up coming from Pitt, actually, and Gabby Hutcherson, and she's looking to make an impact in that backcourt. That they still have Journey Kiaku, but also they're looking for some holes to fill because they did lose Bernard and Myers. So, what does a girl like Hutcherson bring to the squad?
She brings the best kind of D1 experience you can get. We're talking about a girl that was just freshly a senior at Pitt, and she actually transferred from Ohio State before that. So obviously we can kind of see what the trek for her career has been. She's kind of, gone down from school to school, but that's not to take away from the experience that she's gained from these programs. And that's something on a Duquesne team that has lost a lot of his experienced players. That's something that's going to be very valuable moving forward.
Absolutely. Another big piece they added, I thought, was Angela Matic. And Dan Burt, he went on the record saying that they quickly zeroed in when they saw Angela's name in the portal. So he's obviously excited. And Matic actually comes off of trying out for the Serbian national team in the Olympics, Dylan. So, obviously, that brings up more guard play to an already stacked guard room.
Yeah, certainly can only add. Matic averaged 7 points a game, 2.5 rebounds, 1.3 assists. She helped all around. She had a career-high 20 points. That was in 2023. She averaged that every game. That was her career high. So for scoring, she's definitely going to be a factor on the Duquesne offense.
And obviously, you can't talk about a Duquesne team without bringing up Meg McConnell. And the past few years, she has been the heart and soul of this team. She's going to look to continue that this year. She was named to the All-Conference preseason first team. So obviously, high expectations yet again for McConnell.
Of course, you can't say enough about Meg McConnell. She's got all the accolades. She's the heart of that offense and the brain of the defense.
Yeah.
She is everything on both sides. So much endurance, such a hustler. So many times the Dukes found they found themselves playing her every minute of every game.
Yeah.
It just seems like this girl doesn't stop. So she definitely has been the juice to that Duquesne motor for a long time.
Absolutely, and she's going to have to continue to do so, with the loss of the players that we mentioned. And obviously, while these two players start to, or not these two, but like the multiple transfers they brought in, start to kind of get acclimated with the team, Meg McConnell's going to play a big role in that. We'll switch over to Princeton. Princeton, obviously, we talked about it, pretty high expectations. And I mean, just tell me about a couple of Princeton players that Duquesne fans are going to want to look out for.
Well, the biggest one I could talk about is Madison St. Rose. Now, unfortunately for the Tigers, they don't have their top placing scorer from last season remaining, but they do have Maddie Rose. She was second on the team in points and first with 49 three-pointers. That is dangerous. And if Princeton's going to put the Dukes to work in this game on Monday, she's certainly going to be a threat and have a big day.
Also, did want to point out Sky Belker as well. She returns after playing every game, or starting in every game in her freshman year. She's only the fifth player in Princeton program history to do that, so definitely someone that has gotten experience over the last year, had tournament experience even. So definitely a name to watch as well, along with obviously Madison St. Rose. I mean, she was terrific last year, and she's going to have to continue to do so if Princeton wants to see success and live up to their prediction in the preseason poll.
Yeah, they certainly will. Obviously, the Dukes lost a lot of firepower when it comes to that offensive attack. You talked about Tess Myers leaving. While she did have a down year, she was widely considered the best three-point shooter, whatever you want to call it, for Duquesne. So that's a big loss. Princeton, definitely a couple of sharpshooters on that side. They're going to have a day shooting against the Dukes.
And they're going to have to. We're going to get to our game picks here, and I don't know. I mean, I think this game is really going to be interesting. I think a lot of people are counting out Duquesne. And obviously, it's tough to not do so. I mean, Duquesne, last year, their last result was against Richmond in the semifinals, and then they did beat Monmouth, but then got beat down pretty badly by Purdue. Regardless, they had the history of playing with Princeton. So, with that all being said, Dylan, where do you see this game going?
I definitely think it's going to be a great one. Like we saw last season, hard fought, and I've heard a little bit from inside the training and the practice squad from the Duquesne women's team. And what I'm hearing is this is a fast and hard-running, hard-nosed team. They're going to put you to work and make you tired. But that being said, this is a Princeton team that is retaining a lot of key pieces from last season. I don't think the Dukes are going to have enough firepower just yet to be able to stop it. So I see Princeton winning comfortably just with all the new Duquesne pieces. I think they need some time to get it together. I see Princeton taking this one 70-55.
I did like how you touched on how Duquesne does have these new pieces. And I lightly touched on it earlier that they're going to need McConnell to kind of run the offense and show the ropes early on to these newcomers. I think you're right. I think it's too early for Duquesne. Obviously, I think last year they had players returning, Maya Hamilton, Townsend, Johnson, and obviously with McConnell. I mean, they had some pretty good chemistry, and Myers as well. I think this year's a little different. I think it's going to be unfortunate for the Duquesne fans because of the doubleheader that night. So the Duquesne basketball palooza, unfortunately, I think Ensign starts off with a loss for Duquesne women's basketball to Princeton. I think it's going to be an interesting game, though. Definitely one you definitely want to keep an eye on ESPN+. That'll do it for us. I'm Jack Morgan, Dylan Fisher saying so long. Thank you for watching the Duquesne Sports Pregame Show.